Big Front, who are in the process of finding a successor to former President Edgar Lungu as the party begins its intra-party processes. About 8 candidates have applied for nomination to run as a party president. And in our studios this morning, our guest is one of the candidates, Patriotic Front PF presidential hopeful, who also served as Deputy Minister and later on Minister of Livestock and Fisheries in the Patriotic Front administration, as well as former Heritage Member of Parliament Greyford Monde joins us this morning. Good morning, Minister Monde. You are welcome to the interview on Millennium Radio.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chilala, and good morning, listeners.
How have you been? It's been quite a while since you left your position as minister, since you left your position as MP. First and foremost, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Very well. So, I was member of parliament for 8 days, as rightly stated. During my 10th President Michael Satan, elect, appointed me Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Livestock. Later, I was reappointed when President Edgar Lungu became president, the same capacity, Deputy Minister of Agriculture, and it didn't take long. He then upgraded me to a full cabinet portfolio. This time the ministry was split into 2, so I established and opened the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. And so in 2016, that's the time that I ended my term, and I was no longer MP and I was no longer minister. And at that time, we were working in the background. In terms of political party, we were working in the background to strengthen the party in the grassroots, to make it strong. And so we were involved in the politics and in the campaigns. Of course, some people have been saying that, well, you were not available. I was available. Only that, you see, as a PF, we are an organized party. So when the colleagues took over the realms of cabinet and various positions, we support them in the background. So I was involved in some of the statements that our colleagues, the ministers, were making. We were consulted several times on certain matters because we were continuing as government. So I was available, and I'm still available. Only that, of course, you know, when you leave such positions, there gets a time when other people come into the limelight, and which we appreciate. And we saw a lot of our ministers speaking government policy, talking development that came to our people. And we were not available on radio programs because we had sufficient people expounding on issues and matters of our government. But just like now, you see, you've called me here at Millennium Radio. Why? Because now I've fronted myself on a position to run for president. So it's a platform now that we are receiving calls and we are receiving invitations to TV programs, to radio programs. That is what it is. So I want to tell you that I've been available.
All right. In being available, obviously, you are now running for party presidency in the Patriotic Front. The question is, what has given you that motivation?
Okay, so I must say that when I joined politics, obviously, the end product was to govern this country. So what motivated me to join politics, issues of attending to the livelihood of our people, issues of saving Zambians, is the reason that now prompted me to go for this position, especially that our former president had played his part, and now it's a turn for PF to choose another leader. I felt I should front myself to run for this position. But much more, I can tell you that what has really prompted me, and it must just be a must for me to stand, is the fact that if I look at the activities of the last 15 or so months under the current government, it's clear that our people are suffering more than we had given the services to them. Things are not in place. The promises that were given to the people that prompted Zambians to vote the PF out have not been realized. We see that they were all lies, and because of that, I feel that I can offer myself to the country to serve them in a position of a president. Yes.
So you are running up against what may be called in political circles as bigwigs. Majority, if not all of them, at some point you may have served with in cabinet, maybe with an exception of the Lunte Member of Parliament, Mr. Mtote Kafwaya, but the rest, I think, you may have served with them in cabinet. From a spectator's point of view, it seems to be, it may seem to be a highly contested race. How confident are you that you are running up against some seasoned politicians? If you look at the material member of parliament, if you look at the former Kasama member of parliament, if you look at the Mansa Central member of parliament, as well as the other three, if not four, contenders, what gives you the much needed confidence, and where are you drawing your strength from?
Very well, Jirala. You see, I like this question, and this question, first of all, demonstrates that the Patriotic Front is a democratic party, and this party is willing to get the best leader that the leadership is going to choose. And I can also tell you that yes, I have respect for all my colleagues on that list, whichever that they are. And I can also tell you that because of this respect that I have for them, we must emerge strong. But in terms of my confidence, I want to tell you that first of all, there are two things here. Number one, we are talking of experience, and we can talk of, when people talk about big wigs, they is always reduced to two things: experience and financial capacity to mobilize. Now, let me attend to these matters in this fashion. Number one, in terms of experience, some of my colleagues who are contesting there, some of them have not attained the highest leadership that I have, or that of cabinet minister. And in fact, if there's anyone there who has gone beyond, I don't know, you have to tell me which one of the 8 has gone beyond cabinet minister. The highest everyone has achieved in terms of political experience is cabinet minister, which I was, okay? And I want to tell you also that some of them on this list were actually my deputy ministers when I was a full cabinet minister at the time. They later became full ministers after I had left. So if we were to be paraded and say, let's sit and stand in the order of seniority, I'm a senior former cabinet minister compared to some of my colleagues on that list. Okay? So in terms of big wigs, I don't know how you're going to qualify me after that statement. Okay? So I also feel that the party is not much concentrating itself on who is a big wig and who is not a big wig. I think we are looking at the leadership, which I've just explained to you. Not only that, I think even at Parliament, I ran a lot of committees which are very big. You know, for example, I was the first vice president of Interparliamentary Union, which is the biggest, in fact, committee of Parliament. And I took this not by an appointment, but by a vote. We went into a serious election where members of Parliament will vote, and that election was contested between myself and the current Minister of Home Affairs. Find out from Parliament who won that election, but I'll tell you that I emerged the winner. So I've got political experience, I've got political skills, which if is well utilized by the party and by everyone else, we can be able to win this election and get back the power. The financial point where people talk about no finances, I can tell you that no one single individual can form government using their own resources. That's a lie. What happens is that people buy in the vision. Which vision I have, which vision the party has. And so through support, you have heard of presidents like President Obama going around without enough money and winning all of those people, and you saw his levels of governance. So in my view, I think that, and as a former minister, we have a certain level of resources that we can be able to run with. But to tell you that I've got enough resources to do everything for this campaign, that would be a lie. And I don't see any one of the 8 of us that can manage to galvanize this country and make the PF win back. In fact, if it was an issue of resources, I want to tell you that Kaunda, President-late Kaunda, Dr. Kaunda, would not have been president if the criteria was to look at who was rich and who was not rich. President Chiluba would not have been president. President Mwanawasa would not have been president. In fact, I can tell you that maybe the one who would have been president HH, and that should have happened in 2006. But because he was the richest in terms of what he declared, he was the richest. But you see, people are not looking at the money. That's why he did not win at that time. Until when people now gain the confidence and they, you see, so President Edgar Lungu, for example, was not the richest when he became president. President Michael Sata was not the richest. So all our past presidents, there is no one that has been richer than everyone. And if riches were the qualification, I think none of all the presidents would have been president as we speak. So I want to say to you that in my own way, I think that I'm prepared, and I know that the Zambians and my party will decide to field me as a presidential candidate even for 2026.
Let us also address some of the feedback that has come via traditional and social media in the aftermath of your application for nomination as PF presidential candidate. Prominent among them, and especially emanating from some of your political opponents on the other side, allege that perhaps you could be a front for other individuals, other groupings. I'm not too sure if you've come across such insinuations, but I feel it's best that we also address these for the benefit of the feedback that has been coming through. What is your take to such insinuations?
Very well. So I've heard about that, and I was asked this question, I think at one of the one of the television studios. And I can tell you that, first of all, one of the reasons that many people feel, or those ones that are saying, and that I'm being sponsored by someone, is because they think that I cannot raise the 200,000, which is the amount we're paying for nominations. And so I put it to you and the country, and anyone who doubts that, that surely, after having served to all of those positions and having been here for all this long, how can I fail to raise the 200,000? You know that 200,000 is just around $11,000, somewhere there about. Okay? With 200,000, you can't even buy a Corolla. Are they telling me that I can't buy a Corolla? See? So it is that which has prompted some people to think that no, he was sponsored. But I can also tell you that this is how it goes. People will never stop talking about such. People will always say such things. I want to tell you that if I was sponsored, I would have been sponsored just when I joined politics. No one sponsored me for MP, and many people just got to know me after I had become a member of parliament. Later I became a minister. Who sponsored me all the way. So this has been my journey, and this is my thing. And you see, after filing in nominations, those that have listened to my programs, they've gone quiet. This session was almost very active the time that we just filed in nominations. Immediately after, you saw it has gone quiet. No much talk around this, because now they've listened to what I'm offering. But I mean, you see, Julius Malema one day I heard him say that I cannot be loved by everyone. I'm not money. It's only money that everyone can love. So we'll have people who come with their divergent views, others opposing us even when they know it's correct. So I want to assure the country that I am not representing anybody. I'm representing myself. And I want you to look at me as such. Support me as Greyford Monde. And I put myself to you that we should do work together.
You seem to be the most youthful of them all, and if one looks at their bio, I think you could be ranked as the youngest. Does this put you at an advantage, or how does it make you feel at a personal level?
Well, what this does to me is that, and I want to thank the country, our party members, the structure that have called me countrywide. Can tell you countrywide. Today we had phone calls coming from Chinga, we had phone calls coming from Chiengi, we had phone calls coming from everywhere. And we are having this every day. And people are saying it's time for us to have a young, energetic leader who is going to work for us. You see, service in politics is actually a lot of work. And you do well to give someone who has a lot of strength and energies to put together this country. The country is vast. It requires movement. It requires visitation. It requires sitting down to think. It requires an active brain. This is the reason why when you check, Dr. Kaunda, in his term, shaped this country to what we know. And all that is happening now is just building up on what Dr. Kaunda did. How old was Dr. Kaunda when he became president? He was 39 years with a few months. Remember, he was born in April, and we got independent in October. So the gap between April to October is the difference that took him to 24 to 40 years. So he was actually 39 years and a few months when he became president. So I can tell you that this advantages me, and unfortunately, it's a natural thing. It's just time. It's just time, and I'm so grateful that people are receiving my nomination and my candidature for as PF presidential aspirant very well, and with a lot of confidence that now they will have fresh boots, now they will have fresh minds, now they have a person who's going to bring fresh hope to this country.
So now looking at trends in African politics, let alone Zambian politics, over the years has seen people crossing over to the ruling party when perhaps their party loses power. Quite a number of your colleagues that may have been poached then by the late President Michael Sata, may so rest in peace, some of whom actually have crossed back to their original party. You are among those MPs that were poached into the Patriotic Front. You have stayed put, and at a time when maybe some may not feel that the PF may be attractive to staying, you have stayed the course. What could be the reason why you have stayed on when maybe it could have been easy for you to just go back to your party, to your former party, rather, UPND?
Very well. First of all, I've always felt very uncomfortable when people say that we are poached.
Maybe you are brought on board,
yes,
for lack of better term.
I understand what you are trying to say, actually, and many people have used this terminology. And I think that be as it is, you are driving the point home, and I appreciate that. Really, I think that for me, I was invited to serve in government, and constitutionally, there was no break in any of the articles of constitution, because the constitution says that members of ministers shall be appointed from among members of parliament. And when you become a member of parliament, you become a national leader. That's a national assembly where we go to. So your number one priority is to serve the country, besides a political party or a club, so to say. And how you serve is what Zambians much more appreciate. And I want to tell you also that once this happened, my former political party, the UPND, took me to court, and they had their own reasons for what. I'm glad that matter was concluded in court, and that I then later decided that, well, since I've been rejected here, but also I also appreciate the fact that when I came to the PF and when I make a comparison between the two, I realized that the PF was still a better party than the UPND. And this has been my position. This is why when time came that the UPND wins, I still remained here. In fact, also let me also thank those of my colleagues that served in the PF from various political parties, and those that stayed and those that went back. They've got their own reasons. I will not speak for them. But for myself, I think that I decided to join PF on principle, and that I believed in what the PF believes in. So I became a full member, and I've not seen any problem so far with the PF, and this is why I still continue to do this. And I can tell you that when the UPND won, the temptations were high that I could do. Many of us started to rethink. Even those that won in parliament, you saw that we've had some colleagues that have been championing the views of UPND when they were PF. Okay, some of our structures have also decided to leave. But for me, I think I decided to, in the national interest, to watch, to wait and see what the UPND was going to do. For example, if the UPND had brought the dollar to 12, as I stated, will I be annoyed? I would have been very excited and happy, because obviously I know that the livelihood of our people, including myself, will be better. If, for example, the UPND brought Millennium to 50, a quarter that promised, do you think I would have been annoyed? I would have been very happy, because Even me, I was going to benefit from that. But since all these were lies, after 15 months, I've told myself these were lies and our people are the ones who are suffering. I cannot stay here. I'm going to continue to fight for our people. Hence, I'm here. And I have no regret whatsoever with the decision I made to join the PF. I think it's the most loved party of the people of Zambia. And you can even see what has been happening now, that people are excited about this PF. When they have realized that, no, these were lies. All of that which was spoken, nothing, apart from the talk show, nothing. Nothing literally. You can't point at, I can tell you, if there's any one thing that we can point at, maybe less than 2 or 3. We can't say that they've not done anything. They've done something, but major on the list, and which is very, very critical, is that they've not delivered according to the services people expected. They have done what they've done, but much more they've not delivered according to the expectation of the Zambians. And therefore that for me is worrisome, and I cannot sit home and begin to watch. I have stood up and said I'm going to fight. How can I be seated home when my country needs leadership? I will not do that.
But contrary to what we've said, there is a notion that is being driven and peddled that the Patriotic Front may not be as attractive perhaps as it were 10 years ago, as it were 12 years ago. The party by its opponents and some section of society has been branded corrupt. What are you doing as you pursue to lead the party in ensuring that that tag is removed and in ensuring that the party is attractive?
Okay, so matters around corruption, they've always come. And the extent of this corruption will only be determined after the courts have concluded these matters in court. And these matters are at various levels, advanced, others that are initial, are still at investigation levels and all of that. I want to tell you that our members that have been invited to all these law enforcement organs, none of them have refused to go and appear. They've gone there to appear. And we hope that this is not just going to be a fight for PF only. That is our worry. So we can only say that PF was corrupt if we see anyone convicted of these cases. But that as it may be, I want to tell you that the PF is actually very committed, or was very committed, and we are still very committed to fighting corruption. You know that it is under the PF that these law enforcement organs were strengthened. In fact, in the 2016 constitution, which as a PF we delivered, which many governments in the past have failed to do, to bring serious articles such as the running mate, date of elections decided, and all of these things. In that same constitution, you go and check. These law enforcement commissions were given status of commissions to just emphasize. You see, when you look, it is a PF that amended the articles, okay, which govern these institutions to give them more strength, to give them more power to investigate, prosecute, and take all of this. Before that, it was just a talk show. And this happened between 2011 to 2020. We've been amending this. And I can tell you that...
I think maybe we need to go on a break. We'll continue just right at this when we come back on the break. We need to just... take a breather. This is Tuesday's edition of the interview on Millennium Radio. We go on a break just right about now, but remember the interview continues just right after the break at